The line at Brew and Bite Cafe stretched almost to the door that morning. It was one of those crisp city Mondays where the air smelled of roasted beans and ambition, where everyone needed caffeine to pretend they had their lives together. The cafe was buzzing. Steaming milk hissed, spoons clinked against mugs, laptops clicked, and half-awake office workers juggled their phones and wallets like acrobats in need of a miracle. Behind the counter, Emma Reed was living her own small disaster. It was her first day as a cashier, and nothing seemed to go right. The register had frozen twice, the coffee grinder kept jamming, and her manager, Lila, had already warned her, "Don't mess up with important customers today. We've got a corporate catering client coming in." "Got it," Emma mumbled, adjusting her oversized apron for the 10th time. She hadn't slept properly in days. Between caring for her sick mother and worrying about her younger brother's tuition, she felt stretched thin. But quitting wasn't an option. Rent was overdue, and this job, no matter how small, was her only lifeline. She was in the middle of fixing the receipt printer, again, when the cafe door chimed. The air seemed to shift, a ripple of silence spreading as someone walked in. A tall man in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit entered, the kind that cost more than Emma made in a year. His stride was calm, deliberate, the stride of someone used to owning every room he walked into. He had neatly combed dark hair, eyes the color of cold steel, and an expression that said he didn't have time for ordinary things, like waiting in line for coffee. People around him straightened instinctively, some whispering his name, though Emma didn't notice. She was too busy fighting with the stubborn paper roll in the machine. "Excuse me," came a deep, smooth voice. Emma glanced up, and nearly dropped the receipt roll. "Yes. Hello, sir," she stammered. "Welcome to Brew and Bite. What can I get for you?" "Black coffee. No sugar. No nonsense," he said simply, eyes flicking down to his phone. She tapped on the screen, but in her nervous rush, her finger slipped, and instead of black coffee, she hit caramel frappe with extra whip. "Oh no, sorry, I pressed the wrong one," she began. Before she could fix it, he slid a sleek black card across the counter. The kind without a name on it, only a subtle silver logo. The kind she had only ever seen in movies. Her palms grew clammy. She swiped it once. Error. She tried again. Error. "Is this going to take long?" he asked, his tone polite but edged. "I'm so sorry, sir," she said quickly, cheeks flaming. "It's my first day. The system's new." He exhaled sharply through his nose, eyes still fixed on his phone. "Figures." Emma bit her lip. Something inside her bristled at the arrogance in his tone. "It's not my fault the system is complicated," she muttered under her breath, then froze, realizing she'd said it aloud. He looked up then, really looked at her for the first time. "I'm sorry. What was that?" Her throat went dry. I just mean, you're swiping wrong," she said, gathering the courage she didn't feel. "You're doing the wrong trick." The corner of his mouth twitched, almost imperceptibly. "The wrong trick." "Yes," she said, gesturing toward the machine. "They changed it last week. You have to tap the card, not swipe it. Otherwise it won't work." The cafe went unusually quiet, everyone trying not to stare. He blinked once, then leaned forward slightly, tapping the card against the terminal. The green light blinked. Payment accepted. Emma smiled, triumphant. See, just needed the right trick. He looked at her for a long second, as though she were some kind of puzzle. Then, with a slow, deliberate nod, he said, "Apparently so." She printed the receipt, handing it to him with a relieved smile. "You'll get your order in just a minute, mister." She glanced at the card before handing it back. Her breath caught. "Mr. Alexander Grant." Her manager's words echoed in her head like thunder. "Don't mess up with important customers." Alexander Grant, CEO of Grant Holdings. The man who had built an empire before 35. The billionaire investors quoted in magazines. The same man rumored to be in the middle of a $200 million merger this very week. Emma's stomach twisted into knots. She'd just corrected that man. Around them, whispers broke out. "That's Alexander Grant," someone murmured. "The billionaire," another gasped. Emma wanted to vanish behind the counter. But Alexander didn't seem angry. In fact, his gaze had softened just slightly, a flicker of curiosity crossing his otherwise unreadable face. "That's the wrong trick, huh?" he repeated, voice quieter now, almost amused. "Well, yes," she said cautiously. "Outdated method. Happens to the best of us." "Outdated," he echoed, as if tasting the word. "Interesting." He took his coffee when it was ready, gave her one last glance, something between intrigue and appraisal, and left without another word. For the rest of the morning, Emma couldn't focus. Every time she took an order, her hands trembled slightly. Her coworkers teased her mercilessly. "You told off Alexander Grant," said Tyler, the barista. "You literally told off the richest man in the city." "Can we not?" she groaned, hiding her face in her hands. Lila, the manager, was torn between horror and admiration. He didn't seem mad, though. "Maybe he liked your confidence." "Confidence?" Emma laughed weakly. "I corrected him about how to use a credit card." But even as she said it, she couldn't stop thinking about the look he'd given her. It wasn't disdainful, it was curious, as if no one had spoken to him honestly in a long time. Across the city, on the 45th floor of Grant Holdings' glass tower, Alexander sat in a meeting but wasn't hearing a word. His team was presenting numbers and projections for the $200 million acquisition of a tech startup, but his mind kept drifting back to the cafe. To the young woman with nervous eyes who had corrected him without hesitation. "You're doing the wrong trick." He couldn't remember the last time anyone had said something like that to him. People bowed, nodded, agreed. He lived in a world where truth was filtered through courtesy and fear. But she'd said it without even realizing who he was. "Mr. Grant," his CFO's voice snapped him back. "Sir, we were saying the deal's ready for signing tomorrow morning. Do we proceed?" Alexander blinked once, refocusing. "Yes," he said simply. "Tomorrow morning. Have legal finalize everything." The CFO nodded, unaware that his boss's thoughts were already elsewhere. The next morning, Emma came in early. She needed to keep her mind busy. But fate had other plans. Lila greeted her with too much excitement. "Guess what? We've been selected to cater coffee for a corporate client's meeting at Grant Holdings Tower today." Emma's stomach sank. "Wait, that Grant Holdings?" "Yup. Their CEO's team reached out directly." "Big deal. You'll be delivering the coffee cart yourself. They requested our downtown branch." "Why me?" "Because everyone else is too scared to mess up. And besides, you already met the guy." "That's exactly why I shouldn't go." Emma protested, but it was no use. An hour later, she found herself wheeling a sleek catering cart into the marble lobby of Grant Holdings. The place screamed wealth. Polished floors, glass elevators, and artwork that probably cost more than her apartment. The receptionist smiled politely. "Conference room A, top floor. Mr. Grant is expecting you." Emma took a deep breath, her heart hammering. Just serve the coffee, smile, and get out alive. When she entered the conference room, she froze. A dozen men in suits sat around a long mahogany table. At the head was Alexander Grant, perfectly composed, reviewing a set of documents. He looked up the moment she appeared. Recognition flickered in his eyes. "You." Her heart nearly stopped. "Me," she said weakly, gripping the cart. "Coffee delivery." A few of the men chuckled. One whispered, "The cafe girl." Alexander didn't answer. His lips curved. Not quite a smile, but close. "You're the one who told me I was using the wrong trick." She swallowed. "Yes, sir, but I promise I'm not giving any tech advice today." Laughter rippled around the room. Even Alexander's expression softened slightly. As she began serving the coffee, the meeting resumed. She tried to stay quiet, invisible, but she couldn't help glancing at the presentation screen. The talk of percentages and shares made her head spin, but then something caught her eye. A line of text in a contract draft. The number looked off. She had always been good with numbers. Her late-night freelance bookkeeping gigs had taught her how to spot mistakes fast. The decimal placement was wrong. Instead of 15%, it read 1.5%. A single mistyped digit, but it meant a difference of tens of millions. Her pulse quickened. Should she say something? No, it wasn't her place. She was just the coffee girl. But her conscience screamed louder. "Excuse me," she blurted out before she could stop herself. The room went silent. Alexander's eyes lifted to her again. Yes, she pointed timidly at the screen. I think there's a mistake on that file. The equity line. It says 1.5%, but based on your previous statement, shouldn't it be 15? For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then one of the executives turned pale. Another began stammering. Alexander stood, picked up the tablet, and scanned it himself. Her stomach twisted. Oh no, I've done it again. Then his voice cut through the tension, calm but icy. She's right. The room erupted into murmurs. Who prepared this document? He demanded. Our accounting team, sir, one man began. Fix it, immediately. He turned back to Emma, and for the first time, a genuine smile touched his face. You just saved me $50 million. Emma's mouth opened, then closed. I was just, serving coffee. He chuckled softly. Not just coffee, apparently. The atmosphere shifted completely. What had been a tense, formal meeting now felt lighter, more human. Everyone seemed oddly impressed by her courage, or maybe just relieved that she wasn't afraid to speak up. When the meeting ended, Alexander approached her as she packed up. You have a sharp eye, Miss Reed, he said, voice calm but sincere. And an even sharper sense of honesty. Rare traits. I wasn't trying to interfere, she said quickly. I just couldn't unsee it. He nodded. And that's exactly why you should come by my office tomorrow. I might have something better suited to your talents than a cafe counter. Her heart skipped. Are you serious? Dead serious, he said, his tone leaving no room for doubt. You caught what my legal team missed. That's the kind of person I need. As he walked away, Emma stood frozen, her reflection trembling in the polished glass wall. Just yesterday, she'd been a broke cashier correcting a billionaire about card payments. Now that same billionaire wanted to offer her a job. Life, she realized, had its own strange way of rewarding people who weren't afraid to say, that's the wrong trick. The next morning, Emma stood in front of the towering glass building of Grant Holdings, nerves fluttering like 1,000 butterflies in her chest. The memory of yesterday's meeting still felt unreal. Had he really meant it? Or was it one of those polite things powerful people said to make you feel better before forgetting your name? Still, she had nothing to lose. She had borrowed her mother's iron, pressed her plain white shirt, and tied her hair into a neat ponytail. Her black flats squeaked slightly as she walked through the marble lobby. The receptionist smiled knowingly. Mr. Grant is expecting you, Miss Reed. Expecting her. The words sounded foreign. When she stepped into his office, she felt small again. The walls were lined with awards, abstract art, and a panoramic view of the skyline that made the whole city look like his kingdom. Alexander stood by the window, his posture as sharp as the morning light cutting across the room. Miss Reed, he greeted, turning to face her. You showed up. Good. I wasn't sure if you were serious, she admitted. About yesterday. I don't make casual offers, he replied simply. Sit. She sat, folding her hands nervously. He placed a folder on the table. You said you do bookkeeping freelance. Her eyes widened. You remember that. I make it a point to remember people who save me millions, he said dryly. Then his tone softened. I need someone with a sharp eye and no agenda. Someone who'll tell me when I'm using the wrong trick. You've already proven you can do that. Emma blinked. You're offering me a job. He nodded. Assistant financial analyst. Entry level, but it comes with full training and benefits. She stared at him, speechless. For months she'd been buried under bills, surviving on tips and instant noodles. Now, out of nowhere, a door had opened to a life she'd never dared imagine. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Say yes, he said. And start tomorrow. A slow smile broke across her face. Then, yes. Alexander's lips curved into something that might have been the beginning of a smile. Good. Welcome to Grant Holdings, Miss Reed. As she left the office, her heart felt impossibly light. For the first time in years, she wasn't walking toward another dead-end job, she was walking toward possibility. In the hallway, she glanced back through the glass wall. Alexander stood where she'd left him, watching her go. There was something thoughtful, almost human, in his eyes, as if her small act of honesty had shaken something loose in him, too. Two lives had collided over a simple coffee order, and both had changed forever. And somewhere between the hum of the city and the quiet of that office, Emma smiled to herself. Sometimes, she realized, the wrong trick leads you exactly where you're meant to be.